welcome to today's webinar, ArcGIS, a location platform for smart policing. My name is John Beck, Esri Law Enforcement Manager, and I'm joined today by Chris Delaney, Law Enforcement Patterns Lead. This is the first of our 2016 webinar series and will serve as an introduction and set the stage for the rest of this year's series. Each of these webinars is going to cover a different subject and will be on the third Thursday of every month. Today we are going to discuss how mapping has evolved from a desktop application focused on crime analysis into a platform that supports smart policing strategies across your organization. First, we'll go over the ArcGIS platform and discuss how it integrates with your current systems. We'll then show you how it can be configured and deployed through many different maps and apps. Finally, we'll discuss next steps, available resources, and give you a preview of upcoming webinars. If at any time during the webinar you have a question about what we are showing, you can type your question in the chat window and we will have a Q&A at the end of the webinar. So let's get started. When we say smart policing, what we really mean is any strategy that's going to help your agency increase public trust and satisfaction in the job that you're doing. This could mean sharing public crime data, sharing open data about your agency, or it could be something as simple as publishing a story map about your community policing efforts. 2, you want to reduce crime and the fear of crime, and 3, reduce officer injuries. These could be accomplished by introducing smart policing strategies such as implementing a CompStat process, introducing body-worn cameras, using predictive analytics to predict when and where crime will occur, or implementing a real-time crime center to improve situational awareness. And of course, it would be great if you could do all of this while reducing costs. As these 3 maps show, GIS can support many smart policing strategies. In the first map, we see spatial statistics being used not only to show crime hotspots, but also to help us understand the significance of these hotspots. In the second map, we see a special event being planned and managed all on the same map. So you start the planning process in a map in desktop, which becomes a live map on the day of the event, shared on dashboards and on mobile devices. And in the last map, we have visualized and linked known gang member locations and territories to gain insight into our gang problem. But what other missions can GIS support? We see maps supporting all the key business units of a typical law enforcement agency. From the crime analysis unit using GIS for crime mapping and analysis to support all the other units, to detectives using maps to support investigations and for caseload management, or when performing a neighborhood canvass. Patrol uses maps to dispatch to calls for service and to manage directed patrols to address specific crime problems. SWAT teams might use maps for tactical planning and real-time situational awareness. Administration uses maps for records management or to manage sensor systems. PIOs use maps to share information with the public, and internal affairs might use maps to manage citizen complaints, use of force data, or to support internal investigations. Or if they aren't using maps, why aren't they? It could be because there is a lack of access to mapping systems, a lack of usability, or failure to train on the software programs that you do have. Or it could be that data is disconnected and siloed in systems that don't talk to each other. And if they are using mapping, are they looking at the same map as the rest of the organization? Are you able to easily share information, data, and analysis with the rest of the agency? Probably not. Now let's take a look at the systems and sensors typically used by law enforcement. The big ones obviously are the CAD and RMS system, but many other agencies have systems including systems for case management, offender management, warrants, citations, and for tracking citizen complaints. Then we can add all of your sensor systems, so AVL, LPR, CCTV, body-worn cameras, anything else that has a GPS in it. Again, all these systems and sensors are disconnected and don't talk to each other. What a GIS can essentially do is become the RMS for all the devices and systems currently owned by you. As a system of record, a GIS can organize and manage the location information and data coming from each of these other systems, all based on the one thing they have in common, location. But once you have all this data in a GIS, how do you get information out to your command staff, to support personnel, to officers in the field, and all the other special units within the agency? Let's turn it over to Chris and learn how web maps are transforming GIS from a system of record into a system of engagement. Chris?
Thanks, John. So a new structure has emerged, and that structure helps organizations fully leverage their authoritative geographic data to improve decision-making across their organization. We call it WebGIS. WebGIS is an evolution in how we use geographic information. Originally, this data was kept locally on your desktop or served directly into a custom mapping app built to serve a specific set of needs that you might have had. Now, WebGIS enables the power of your geographic data sources to be fully realized by exposing them as services into a centralized portal to manage access, manage content, and facilitate self-service creation of web maps, which can be deployed into an ecosystem of ready-to-use apps that can be configured for any purpose, mission, or workflow. And while we use the word web, the WebGIS structure can exist in the cloud, entirely within your own firewall, or some combination of both that fits your unique needs. WebGIS enables you to fully leverage your agency's authoritative geographic data by delivering it to out-of-the-box apps that are configurable to any mission. This enables everyone in your agency, from analyst to officer to chief, to make better decisions by leveraging the power of location. Smarter decisions result in more efficient and effective workflows, which in turn help us to realize the key missions of our agency that John alluded to earlier. So why does WebGIS matter? When we talk to our customers that don't have a WebGIS, we often see a pattern of common challenges, and those challenges impede our customers from fully leveraging their location data for smarter policing efforts. The first challenge we often hear about is around issues about access. So personnel with appropriate security permissions, but can't utilize that data where they actually need it. We hear things like patrol officers lacking access to critical information in the field, information to help them respond more effectively or to keep themselves safe, things like gang territories and gang member residences. Or law enforcement executives who are at a city council meeting and get sandbagged with a particular question, and now the executive is looking foolish because they can't access the data that they need at the meeting to answer the particular question. In those cases, agencies need to be able to empower personnel to access location information anywhere, anytime, on any device, so the information follows where you work. We often hear issues around the theme of discovery. That staff know that data exists, but they don't know where to find it. So we hear things like investigators hand-searching addresses of parolees, trying to find the ones that are nearby a location that they're investigating. Or grant writers who have to pass on a major grant because they're not able to get the information on crime and demographics that they need to write the compelling grant application. In those cases, staff just simply need to be able to discover the maps and data that are relevant to their work to make their work more efficient. Another big issue that we hear a lot about is challenges associated with sharing and collaboration. That agencies lack tools to facilitate communication both internally and across partners and stakeholders in the community. We hear things like patrol operations supervisors who are unaware that they're setting up some kind of proactive detail right in the middle of a targeted major narcotics investigation area. Or officers who are in the field working a protest event, confused and at risk because they don't have insight into where the protesters are, where other resources are, and they don't have visibility into a rapidly changing operational plan. In those kind of situations, personnel need to be able to share and collaborate on location information to not only avoid duplication of effort, but to facilitate officer safety. Another big issue we hear about a lot is analysis. Things like crime analysts lacking the flexible and robust tools that they need to be able to adjust to the variety of tasks that analysts face. Or for non-analysts in police organizations that don't have any self-service tools that are appropriate for their skill level, that mean analysts end up having to fill very minor requests, which in turn limit their ability to do more advanced analysis. In both of these situations, the goal really is to provide the appropriate analytical tools and products to support decision needs across the entire organization. And then the last big challenge that we hear about is around data silos and disparate systems. We hear things like officers or analysts who have 5 different applications open at once, who are performing a query in 5 different applications at the same time, trying to get at the information they need, or things like duplication of work in multiple systems, resulting in confusion over which source is the authoritative source. For both of those kind of situations, agencies are really looking to decrease efficiencies by having one authoritative location system of record. So these types of high-level location challenges are having negative impacts on the ability of agencies like yours to do their job efficiently and effectively. And that in turn ultimately impacts the bottom line of those core objectives that drive the organization. So what I'd like to do now is show you a brief illustration of how Esri's WebGIS platform can help you overcome the core challenges that agencies typically face when leveraging this kind of data. So the first challenge that we're going to discuss is the challenge of access. Excuse me, the challenge of systems. Give me just a moment while my browser loads. So one of the challenges that we often see is this challenge of having to interrogate multiple systems to get the answers to the questions that you have. Agencies that are leveraging GIS are able to integrate those systems into a single location system of record and deploy applications that are able to access all of those different sources through one single interface. In this case, we have an app that an officer can use in the field to enable awareness about known offenders that are in and around the location that they currently are at. So an officer can either select a particular address or use the GPS of their mobile device to be able to find out information from various sources that is nearby to where they currently are. So in this case, information on nearby parolees or sex offenders or field interviews that have been recently written in and around this area. All of this information is coming from disparate data systems, but is integrated into a single experience for the user. And this web application is accessible either on a laptop in a vehicle, back in the office, or even on an officer's mobile device. WebGIS also provides analysis tools to support everyone in the organization. So this means simple tools for officers or supervisors. In this case, we've got a web application. This web application supports a supervisor's efforts to plan and manage real-time firearm violence reduction details that they're currently running in the organization. And this app enables a number of simple capabilities. Things like a time slider that enables the supervisor to view how patterns of crime occurred and shifted over time. It provides analysis tools, so abilities to do things like analyze hotspots. And it also gives the ability to start to ask questions of this data. So let's say you've identified a hotspot and you want to be able to understand when that hotspot was active. Using a charting tool, I'm able to manually select the area that I want to analyze, and the widget tool will return a chart that gives me the breakdown of all of the crimes in the selected area by hour, so I can start to determine when I'm going to deploy proactive details to address crime in that particular area. By enabling simple analysis tools, we're able to free up analyst time to do more substantive analysis. In this particular example, things like being able to utilize ArcGIS Pro to conduct a strategic analysis of hotspots over both space and time, so that we're able to plan strategic responses to that particular crime problem more effectively. WebGIS also enables sharing and collaboration across an organization. As John mentioned earlier on, agencies can leverage WebGIS to collaborate across things like major events. In this case, we've got an event plan that has been developed using a web map where I'm able to visualize things like police resources, camera locations, various support resources, things like staging areas, and various event assets. All of this information, once it's inside of a web map, can now be deployed to an array of different apps to support various users who are supporting an event. So things like a web application that enables an incident commander to be able to modify that operational plan in real time as conditions change. So using a simple edit widget, giving the incident commander the ability to move resources as they are needed, so that the operational plan is updated in real time with new changes to add in additional resources as they're required. Simple and easy to use for non-technical users. And as this information changes, it's immediately accessible to other users who have access to that web map. So whether that is officers in the field who are on their iPad or mobile device, or whether it is in the command post where emergency operations staff are able to track the activities of the event by incorporating not only the operational plan, but also camera feeds, real-time weather, and GPS tracks of various assets to more effectively manage the event in real time and collaborate across all of the different users involved in managing that event. WebGIS also enables secure access for any user, anytime, anywhere on any device. And this is a brief video that illustrates that capability. Using Explorer for ArcGIS, one of our mobile apps, an officer signs in to his agency's ArcGIS organizational portal. Once there, he can use this app to see the maps and apps that he's been provisioned access to. In this case, he's a patrol officer. He only has access to maps that have been provisioned to officers in the patrol operations group. In contrast, when the chief of police logs in, he's able to see a very different view. When the chief logs in, he's able to access maps and apps associated with all the different units in the organization. So even sensitive maps for things like the narcotics unit, active informants, or investigation locations. So in this way, at a named user level, security controls what you can and cannot see, but using this platform capability, you're able to then access the information you have access to anywhere on any device, whether it's a mobile device or whether it's in the app. Oh, hey, Dora. The next challenge WebGIS helps you overcome is enabling your personnel to discover useful maps and apps that support their workflows. So a quick example of this, let's say an investigator is looking to gain information about a case that he's currently working. To do that, he would go to his organization's location portal, which you can see right here. He's able to quickly scroll to the group for investigations, and so this is a group of maps and apps that have been built just for the needs of investigators. And going into that group, he's able to see all of those maps and apps. Quickly reviewing what's available to him, he can see that there is an analysis app that he might want to use. And he's able to open up that web application, and that web application will help him do several things. Things like search for known offenders in and around the location of the case he's investigating. Or be able to understand what's near a particular location, or analyze and search for particular gang members by last name or gang name that match the area that he's working in. So in this way, WebGIS enables him to quickly identify the information he needs and get access to it. So that quick demo illustrated how WebGIS helps agencies to overcome some of the common problems that really limit you from leveraging location data for smarter decision making. But now let's talk about what that actually looks like in practice. Esri's WebGIS platform, called ArcGIS, is essentially three core components. First, services. When we say services, this is data that's been exposed as a web service. And that can be data sets that come directly from your enterprise systems, such as RMS or CAD. Or it can be simple things like spreadsheets and tables that are kept manually at a local location. Those data sets exposed as services are enhanced through what Esri provides in terms of online content. So base maps, over 8 different types of base maps, and released this year the ability to do vector base maps, which gives you the ability to control the look and the feel of the base map, as well as data on demography, socioeconomic data that you can leverage, as well as online analysis services to be able to do in the WebGIS environment things like hotspot analysis or routing or drive time analysis. Those services are all registered with a central destination portal. The portal is essentially a content management system for all of your location data. It provides a couple of key features. First, it enables you to control who has access to what data by enabling your users with named user accounts that give them access to particular types of data that you want to enable them access to. It also gives them the ability to discover the data and maps and apps that they have access to, and empowers them to do self-service mapping using our web map interface. From there, you're able to share your web maps that you create into an array of different configurable apps that we have that come with our platform. Apps for desktop, things that you're used to like ArcMap, but also our new desktop product, ArcGIS Pro, that enables you to do analysis in both 2D and 3D concurrently. An array of different web applications that I'll talk about in a moment, and native device applications, so enabling you to deliver your web maps straight into devices on mobile devices, whether for iOS or Android. And ultimately, this WebGIS platform gives you the core capabilities to fully leverage your location information. So that's secure access anytime, anywhere, on any device, giving your users the ability to find the information that they need through a destination portal, providing easy-to-use analysis tools for your non-technical folks, and enhanced capabilities for your analysts. It facilitates sharing and collaboration across units, task forces, and even to the public, and gives you the ability to integrate your disparate location systems into a single location system for everyone to use. And as I mentioned before, this platform is available not only in the cloud, but also on-premise. So using a WebGIS to enable a user's need or mission workflow is really accomplished in 3 simple steps. The first is building a web map, and that web map can be built from any source. As I mentioned before, this data can come from your enterprise databases, data that you build in ArcGIS Desktop, data from spreadsheets, CSVs, real-time data sets, and even now 3D data. And we also supply base maps, other data and services that can enhance your capabilities. You bring that data together in a web map inside your portal, where you can do analysis, you can conduct styling, you can filter and query the data sets that you have to display only the data that's relevant, you can control pop-ups, and you can facilitate who you want to share that web map with. From there, you're able to push this web map into one of our out-of-the-box apps, where you'll configure the app to meet your specific purpose, whether that's turning on and off various functionality or whether it's styling the app to fit the look and feel of your organization. And all of the apps that come as part of the ArcGIS platform support the most common patterns of GIS use that we see. So what that means is whether it's for purposes of engaging the public or maintaining operational or situational awareness or working in the field, that there are apps already as part of the ArcGIS platform that are available to support how you want to use your location data in your maps. So let's talk a little bit more about these apps. What kind of configurable apps do you have access to with the ArcGIS platform? Well, first there's apps for the field. So these are apps that are available on your mobile devices, iOS, Android, and Windows. Apps like Collector, which enables you to collect data in the field and have it relayed back in real time to your organization. It also enables things like Survey 123, which gives you the ability from a mobile device to deliver robust survey instruments into the field. They have conditional questions that enable your staff to go and conduct surveys and report that information back to your organization. Simple apps like our Explorer app that enable visualizing your maps in the field. Maps for routing and navigations and directions with our Navigator app. And our Workforce app that supports dispatching workflows. And all of these apps work together in tandem, so you can use these apps together to solve end-to-end workflow problems. In addition to those apps, we have apps for folks who are in the office. Most notably, our Operations Dashboard app that enables you to build situational awareness dashboards for real-time monitoring or monitoring of key performance indicators. We also have ArcGIS Maps for Office, which include plugins for Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint, enabling you to build and share maps from spreadsheets or to embed dynamic maps into a PowerPoint presentation to support your presentation efforts. Coming later this year, we've got a very exciting new product called ArcGIS Insights. ArcGIS Insights is a business intelligence tool that enables you to dynamically build maps and charts and tables and interact with each one to do inductive data analysis on the fly. It's really going to change significantly the types of workflows that tend to be very long and involved in crime analysis particularly, and give users new tools to dig deep into their data in very user-intuitive ways. It's a very exciting product for law enforcement that's coming out later this year. In addition to those three main products, we also have several new products for office users, including ArcGIS Earth, which is our version of Google Earth to support KML-based workflows, as well as Drone to Map, which is a new tool that enables users to collect drone imagery and develop in very short time periods ortho imagery as well as 3D models based on the imagery collected from the drone. Another key area of apps that we have are apps for citizens. As I'll talk about a little bit later, when you purchase an ArcGIS online organization, you've got the ability out of the box to create an open data portal. That's a core capability of ArcGIS Online that has added value for citizens. We also have apps that support crowdsourcing collection by the public that can help you identify problems or complaints and respond to them, as well as tools to help communicate the core messages of your agency, where citizens can find resources, major investigations or outreach efforts that your agency is doing using our story map templates. In addition to these apps, we also have an array of different app builders. So these app builders are important because they enable you to build your own semi-custom applications. First, we've got over 20 different versions of configurable web application templates that are oriented to specific tasks that you might like to have a web app for. If one of those templates doesn't fit your key needs, we have a tool called Web App Builder. This enables you to select from an ever-growing array of configurable widgets to build your own semi-custom app without writing a lick of code. Or lastly, our App Studio tool. This tool is very exciting because it lets you build your own branded native app for iOS, Android, Windows, or Linux. And when you're done, the tool helps you submit your app directly into the appropriate app store, making custom app deployment for native languages like iOS and Android simple. So needless to say, Esri's WebGIS provides an almost unlimited set of app combinations and configurations that law enforcement agencies can use to deliver their authoritative location data into the hands of officers to improve decision-making across every unit of the organization. So now that you've seen the apps, let's take a quick look at the workflows that can be supported and enhanced with configured apps using WebGIS. With so many configurable apps, an agency's ability to support key workflows and units are pretty much unlimited. So for patrol operations, I can use Web App Builder with an edit widget, seen right here, to build an app to enable supervisors to capture and manage all current operational details. Or for CompStat, I can use the PowerPoint add-in for ArcGIS Maps for Office to embed interactive maps into your weekly CompStat presentation. For investigations, I can use Web App Builder configured with a query widget and a Near Me widget to help investigators search for known offenders nearby the location of their active cases. When a major case is complete, I can use a story map template to combine dynamic maps, text, images, and video to tell the story of the investigation and highlight good investigative work to the public. Crime analysts can use web maps to track crime patterns and to share that information into apps that support officers on the road, supervisors in the office, or executives on the go. Analysts also have a host of online analysis tools at their disposal, from hotspot analysis to spatial aggregation, drive times, route optimization, even tools for connecting origins to destinations, for things like mapping the relationship between motor vehicle theft and recovery, or where gang members live in relation to gang turf, as you can see here. They can also take advantage of tools in ArcMap or its sister desktop product, ArcGIS Pro, for advanced space-time analysis. As an aside, ArcGIS Pro and ArcMap now support integration with robust open source statistical tools such as SciPy and R. And when an analyst's product is done, they can make their briefing products come alive by incorporating interactive maps with either story map templates or the PowerPoint add-in for ArcGIS Maps for Office. For administration, so things like grant writing, even internal affairs, recruiting, managing FOIL requests, records. There's a lot of different capabilities available using WebGIS. For things like grant writing, our Community Analyst app that enables you to do deep demographic and socioeconomic analysis to support grant applications and other strategic projects, making your analysis and your applications richer and more complete. In addition, things like Operation Dashboard can be configured to do things like create officer use of force dashboards using your use of force complaint data to identify and monitor not only at-risk officers, but at-risk locations that require some kind of positive intervention, or where you're likely to identify some kind of challenge from the community because of the frequency of use of force complaints coming from that location. For special teams, things like web application templates that can be configured to support the creation of tactical plans or briefings in the field to quickly sketch up entry plans for tactical warrants, for barricaded gunmen, things of that nature, or our Survey 123 app, enabling agencies to collect and manage critical infrastructure data. For event management, as I talked about previously, our apps can support the entire end-to-end workflow from planning to event day management, whether a special event or a critical incident. So things like real-time management and editing of the operational plan that's immediately visible to everyone who's using it, including real-time dashboards in the operations center and for officers out in the field, the ability to capture information on a mobile device, maybe intelligence on suspicious persons or damaged property that can be relayed back into the command center. And to brief officers in advance of a particular event with story maps to do operational briefings, or to inform the public of closures or other significant issues associated with an event with a public-facing version of a story map. And lastly, WebGIS also empowers public information. All of our apps can be delivered in a public-facing form. So there's a variety of ways in which WebGIS really enables public information offices with tools that they previously didn't have, including things like the ability to reduce FOIL request processing by spinning up an open data portal from your ArcGIS Online organization. And that's an important one because our open data portal comes at no additional cost. So that's a great value as open data providers can generally be rather pricey. They can also extend that value by using Operations Dashboard to configure public-facing dashboards that track key performance indicators straight to the public. That's pretty exciting stuff. And maybe most importantly, the ability just to build story maps of all sorts to communicate with the public, whether it's educating citizens about crime problems, where to go for help or additional resources, or just to communicate the good work or outreach efforts that your agency is doing. So now I'd like to show one other quick demo that illustrates some of these apps in practice, because these apps can be configured to solve problems, but they can also work with other apps to provide complete end-to-end workflows. So now I wanted to show just a quick example of how several apps can work together to support managing crime problems. So what I'm going to show right now is 3 separate apps for 3 separate users who would be involved in managing crime problems in a city. And so in this case, the example city is Philadelphia. And this is a web map that a crime analyst would use to track crime patterns. Here he's got Part 1 crimes for the last 14 days on his map. He's able to conduct an analysis in his web map. So he's able to look at use a variety of online analysis tools to do things like find hotspots or calculate densities. He can create buffers or drive time areas. He can extract data or manage it. He can aggregate data by points. So he's got a lot of tools at his disposal. In addition, he is able to use several layers in this map to track crime problems. When he finds a crime pattern that he identifies, he's able to do several things. First, keep a layer that identifies which crimes are part of a particular crime pattern, and to a polygon that describes a particular crime area. So in this case, we've got a motor vehicle theft hotspot, and he's captured some attributes about that hotspot, and he can edit this information as it changes. He can build new patterns as they arise. He can also see all of the related crimes that are part of that hotspot. So this map helps the crime analyst keep track of all the patterns in his jurisdiction that he's currently monitoring. But how does he relay this information to patrol supervisors who are responsible for planning operational responses to crime problems? Well, to do that, this data in this web map can be shared into an app that patrol supervisors can use. Here, this is a detail planning app for patrol officers who are assigning officers to proactive patrol details. This supervisor has the ability to turn on and off layers that are relevant to him, so he can look at the last 14 days of Part 1 crime if he'd like to. But in this case, he likes to keep things simple, and he wants to just see in blue where all the currently assigned details are, and in gray where all the current crime patterns are. And so if he zooms into this gray area over here, he can see that there is a crime pattern that has emerged in this particular area. If he clicks on the crime pattern, he can see that there's a firearm robbery crime pattern that's occurring in this area, and he's going to assign out a detail to address this issue. To do that, he's got a simple widget that enables him to create a new detail area. He's going to draw the area that he wants officers to work in, and then he can begin to assign the type of detail that it is. In this case, it's going to be a crime reduction detail. It's going to start on March 1st, and it'll run through the end of the month. We'll assign 4 officers to it. He can continue to do things like assign their mission, what times it will start and end, and the current status of the detail. This information is now available for officers to visualize on maps in their vehicles. When they get assigned to work this particular detail, they can see where they've been assigned to work. And it can also be accessible to the supervisor, whether it's the deputy chief of operations or the chief of police himself, in a dashboard that enables you to have complete visibility into current crime patterns and conditions. And so this map gives me the ability to see a number of different things. I can see on the bottom the current crime patterns that are active. I can zoom into any one of these particular areas and get more information about the pattern. I can zoom into particular details and get information about the particular details that are in an area. Or if I have a question about a particular type of crime, I can filter for that particular crime, in this case, aggravated assaults with a firearm, and I can ask questions. I can do things like look at citywide for that type of crime. What are the year-to-year comparisons over the last 14 days? I can see that we're up quite a bit. I can also query for more information. So I'm interested in looking at aggravated assaults overall over the last 14 days. I can get information like top locations for those types of crime over the last 14 days. Top districts for aggravated assaults, breakdowns by hour of the day of the week, or by type. So this dashboard helps me maintain accountability not only over crime trends generally, but also over crime patterns, understanding them, and understanding where my officers are deployed in relation to crime patterns currently active in my organization. So that was a brief demo showing how apps can work in tandem to support larger workflows in a law enforcement organization. Now I'm going to hand it over to John for the rest of the webinar. Thanks, John.
No, thank you, Chris. So we just gave you a lot of information in a very short period of time. So let's take a step back and recap what Chris just covered. First, what do you get with the ArcGIS platform? And Chris, I have a question back to you, actually. With the ArcGIS licensing, are you entitled to everything you just showed there, or is there anything is everything out of the box there? Is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah, so everything that you saw are all out-of-the-box capabilities with the ArcGIS platform. Another thing that should be noted is if you are an on-maintenance user of ArcMap, you now have one named user license already that enables you access to all of these capabilities. So we'll talk about this a little bit later, but if that's something that you're interested in, expanding your capabilities and leveraging some of these tools, contact your Esri account manager to get your entitlement license enabled to start using some of these capabilities.
Cool, thanks. So basically you get everything. You get the entire platform. One system record integrates all of your systems. One system of engagement for your entire agency, which is all the mobile capabilities, the dashboards, everything that Chris just showed. But also ArcGIS is configurable, so you get all the maps and apps that are built for each unit of your organization in a system that can be deployed on premise or in the cloud. And Chris mentioned it, but I'd like to revisit it. So everything can be behind your firewall, or it could be in the cloud. And what we often see with law enforcement is a hybrid configuration. So your sensitive data is hosted locally, behind your firewall, and then your public information is shared through that open data portal that Chris showed. So you can push information out to the public, the information that you want to share. You also, with the Esri ecosystem, you also get access to our professional services who can come in and help you set up your organization. You get our free solution templates, and we'll cover these a little bit later. You get access to training through online instructor-led classes, MOOCs, and we'll explain what MOOCs are in a minute, and also our GeoNet user community. We also have extensive network of partners who have solutions that extend ArcGIS, including partners that integrate GIS into their solutions. Your CAD system might be already be using our maps on the back end. We have partners that build solutions on top of ArcGIS, and we also have partners that provide data and GIS services that integrate into your Esri maps. Could be social media data, could be weather data, things like that. Traffic data is another one. Again, all this integrates with your existing systems. So to get started, what do you need to set up WebGIS for your organization? The first thing you get is the ArcGIS Platform. So shown here, Chris already showed this slide. You get the Public Safety Enterprise License Agreement, or ELA as we call it. This gives you everything you need to set up your own GIS portal, including desktop, WebGIS, mobile device capabilities, all hosted within your portal, or a hybrid model, whatever works best for your organization. You also get access to all of Esri's online content and services, including base maps, imagery, demographic data sets, and geocoding and routing services. You also get access to all of our user community base maps and data sets. Literally millions of data sets are available to you online through our user community. You can set all this up yourself, or you can use our platform adoption support. We can give you an ArcGIS Jumpstart. This will help you get going with online support. We can set up your organization's portal, connect to your data, and help you set up maps and apps configured to your agency's needs. And once again, you get all of our Esri content and user community content. So before we take some questions, let's look at some of the resources available to you. We got quite a few questions, Chris, so let's look at our resources and then we'll take the questions. We have a brand new web page, tons of new content. On the web page, you'll find user stories, videos, information about upcoming events, links to our partner community. So you'll see the link here. We also have, as you can see, can you go back to the slide, Chris? The rest of our webinar series for 2016. Our next two are going to be in April. We're going to have open data with the ArcGIS platform. So Chris and I will talk about how to share your data up to ArcGIS Open Data Portal. Again, this is all included with your entitlements with the ArcGIS licensing. And then in May, we're going to be introducing a new tool set, the near repeat analysis tool set. Chris, do you want to say anything about that? Give them a little preview.
Yeah, so sure. So we're currently working with Spencer Cheney to produce a tool set that will enable you to do repeat and near repeat analysis and to create prediction zones using that analysis. That'll be available in ArcMap and ArcGIS Pro. You'll be able to visualize space-time relationships of the near repeat patterns you find using ArcGIS Pro. So this is really meant to be kind of a initial operating capability for predictive policing analysis that you might want to implement inside your organization.
Thanks, Chris. GeoNet's another resource available to you. It's our Esri online community. It's a social network for GIS users. Here you can connect with other users. You can ask our team questions. And we're also going to be creating a law enforcement group and forum to support our MOOCs. So here you can see GeoNet. You can get on here, sign up, and start socializing with us and the rest of our community. MOOCs, massive open online courses. These are free online courses. The next one we're going to be supporting is Going Places with Spatial Analysis, and then that one's from May 11th to June 21st, and then we're going to be supporting do-it-yourself geo apps from July 20th to August 16th. Chris, do you want to say anything else about MOOCs? Are you muted?
Yeah, I think they're an exciting way to get yourself exposed to some of the broader capabilities of the platform. And well, there'll be generalized course content, our webinars, and conversations that we can have through GeoNet. John, myself, Phil Melke, Stacy Belladin, some of the other folks on our Esri law enforcement team will contextualize the lessons so we can apply some of the lessons that are being taught during the MOOCs to applications in law enforcement. So I think it should be kind of a fun way to expose yourself to some new training or new capabilities that will try to contextualize as much as possible for you in law enforcement terms.
Okay, we're running out of time, so just a couple more resources and then we'll take some questions. Training. We had a question about training. What instructor-led and online training is out there? Chris just mentioned Stacy Belladin. We have her on staff now. She's a former crime analyst, and she's building out content for us. The first of her classes is ArcGIS for public safety organizations, and she'll be rolling out some law enforcement specific classes after this. So you can go here for any online content, any instructor-led courses that we offer. We also have a solutions page where we talked about our free downloadable solutions. These are law enforcement specific. This is where our near repeat victimization tool set will find its home. So that'll be out in May, and as we said, in May we'll do a webinar on that tool. So let's take some questions, Chris. First question I have is, can all of our mobile tools be used in a disconnected environment?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways to approach that. So when it comes to mobile tools, it really is dependent on the ability of your network to interface with the external internet. So a lot of times that's a conversation with your IT staff to identify the appropriate network structure. But let's say you have a situation where it's just not possible for security reasons. You can't access things from the outside internet in your environment. A number of our apps support disconnected operations. So for example, our Collector for ArcGIS app, when you're inside your network environment, you're able to cache base maps and all the data you need to go do work. You can go out into the field, you can collect data, you can view your maps, and then when you come back into the office, into your own network, you can sync all the work that you've done back up to your portal. So this often gets utilized for things like search and rescue or wildland fire applications where there's just not possible to connect to the internet because there's no internet out in wildland areas. A number of those kinds of organizations are using these tools to go out, do work, and then sync up the work that they do with the organization once they get back inside the network. So there's a variety of options, and yes, disconnected capabilities are supported.
Okay, the next question is about security. What's the security of WebGIS?
Sure. So I mean that's obviously a big question. When we talk about WebGIS, we're talking about the concept of web services and browser-based services, but not necessarily in the cloud. So there's a lot of different deployment options for how you can deploy this technology. The first is it can entirely be deployed inside your network, inside your firewall, with no external access whatsoever, and it'll work in the same way. You can also deploy it entirely as software as a service through our ArcGIS Online offering. So everything resides in the cloud. You can also deploy a hybrid model. So let's say you've got CJIS concerns, but you don't have the resources to deploy everything on cloud from an IT perspective. You can use ArcGIS Online, but host all of your personal identifying information that might be CJIS sensitive on a server inside your firewall, and that information never leaves your network, but you can still utilize ArcGIS Online inside your network to be able to leverage that information. You just can't utilize that information outside of your network. The last option is you can build a CGIS, or we can build for you a fully CGIS compliant private cloud to host all of your data in either Azure Gov Cloud or AWS Gov Cloud that follow CGIS compliant standards, but exist entirely in a private cloud if you have those security needs and you don't have the infrastructure or don't want to have the infrastructure costs for your organization. So there's a lot of different capabilities with regard to security in the WebGIS model, and it really is just a conversation about what your security goals are and the capabilities that you want to have enabled. And your Esri account manager can help work through some of those issues to identify the best deployment fit for you.
Okay, next question. We showed a lot of different capabilities here and the ability to create these dynamic maps. How do we help the user get their data from their RMS and clean it and get it into these maps quicker? Or do our mapping capabilities help them with that process?
Yeah, so there's a number of different ways to approach that. One of the simplest capabilities that WebGIS enables is if you have a CSV file, you can take that CSV file if it has an address or XY data and literally drag it and drop it into a web map, and it will geocode it for you if you just have addresses, or it'll render your XY data. If you've got Microsoft Excel spreadsheets, you can use our ArcGIS maps for Office add-in to be able to geocode those spreadsheets, make maps, and share them with other users in your organization. And as we showed previously, we came out with a really cool tool about 2 years ago that addresses a big problem a lot of analysts have, which is how do I automate geocoding as a process in absence of having kind of complete direct integration with my data sources, which, as you know, can start to become expensive and requires IT resources. How can I do it? How can I MacGyver my own data? We've got a tool, it's called Create Incident Maps. This Incident Maps tool is a couple of Python scripts, and it gives you the ability to take any spreadsheet data that you might have, whether this is spreadsheets that you keep yourself or an extract, a nightly extract, a weekly extract from one of your major enterprise systems, your RMS system, your CAD system, so it could be calls for service or it could be crime incidents, and it enables you to automate the process of geocoding and then creating a layer, and that layer can exist locally, it can be published to a local server, or you can even publish it into your portal directly using this tool. So it becomes a powerful way in which analysts can take control over automating their data to be able to remove the tedious processes of data management that many folks working in law enforcement often have to deal with just to get their data into a place where then they can start to do mapping and analysis.
All right, we have a lot more questions, but unfortunately we are out of time. If you posted a question and we didn't have time to get to it, don't worry, we'll answer you offline. We'll respond to you via email. Chris, can you throw up our contact information? There should be one more. There we are. So yeah, if you have any questions about anything you saw and we didn't have time for it, you can contact either Chris or I. Here's our email. Also, this will be recorded and shared with all the attendees. And we thank you again for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you on our next call. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming.